Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LCR NeWorld's Portuguese Golden Visa presentation. Thank you for joining us. We're very excited today to talk about Portuguese Golden Visa immigration, as well as introduce our esteemed partner, NeWorld. For the next hour, you're going to hear from me. I'm Joe Hagenmiller. I'm president of LCR, as well as my colleagues, Carlos Hawker, who's a managing director based in Miami. He's originally from Brazil and has experience both in Brazil and in Europe, as well as Carl Vandermeer, who's originally from South Africa, but is our partner in Connecticut, focusing on immigration, both in Portugal and in the US. A little about LCR. LCR is a firm founded in 2012. We specialize in immigration. We're a top 3 green card EB5 distributor and project originator in the US. Our specialties are in finance, specifically choosing high quality, high credit projects, not only in the US, but in Portugal. The other specialty of our firm that we'll talk a little bit more about later is our white glove treatment with our individual immigrant applicant clients. But the main topic today is to talk about the Portuguese program, as well as talk about NeWorld and their Lisbon apartment development called LX Living. And we're very proud to have as our partner on the line, Malcolm Vaughn, who is a partner at NeWorld, as well as Bradley Parker, who is actually in Lisbon. We'll have a little preview of the site. I mentioned earlier, very briefly, regarding LCR's capability in choosing partners, what we look for when we do both partner up with corporate clients on the immigration side in the US and in Portugal, look for high quality developers that have value propositions that are highly positive for the applicant. NeWorld, which Malcolm and Bradley will talk about more extensively, is a highly successful developer in South Africa. This is their first Lisbon project. And we're excited to have them present. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Carlos Hawker, who's going to talk first about the Portuguese Golden Visa program.
Well, hi, everyone. Hope everybody's safe during this pandemic. And thanks for joining. And thanks for the interest in LCR and learning about the Portuguese residency program. The residency program in Portugal, it's a unique and seamless way to purchase property. In Portugal, that's one of the most popular ways of achieving and gaining permanent, residency. It gives you a couple of benefits, and one of them is working and travel rights across the European Union, and that includes, 26 Schengen countries. The most popular way of achieving residency is investing 500,000 euros per family. And it's a very simple, non-demanding 5-year process.
Yeah, I'm watching it now. Yes, it's live in front of me on my screen.
There's a very low
habitual presence. It took me like 4 attempts. Eventually, I got on, and it looked like they were also having it.
Could someone please unmute?
I think that's Bradley.
Yeah. John.
Sorry about that. So there's a very low habitual presence requirement for the Portuguese residency program. It's 7 days on the first year and 14 days for every subsequent year. And obviously people that attain residency and citizenship afterwards, they can have access, to education and healthcare options. It takes typically 4 to 5 months. I've heard it's taking a bit more to achieve, residency once a family applies. And Portugal is very generous on, dependents, compared to other European programs. So there's programs where you can include, dependent that's over 20 or 21. Whilst, Portugal, if you talk to a Portuguese attorney, there might be options for people even over the age of 24. Why Portugal? Well, Portugal, who's ever been to Portugal knows that it's a very peaceful nation. It's ranked 4th in the global peace index. Lisbon, I guess, is ranked as the 4th safest city in the world now. There's great weather all year round, in the winter, for those that understand Celsius, the coldest days are around, 15 degrees Celsius, which is very warm actually for European standards. And there's, it's sunny like most of the time, which is, great for people that don't want to experience like rainy days like, like we have in neighboring countries like the UK and France. It's the largest and longest standing, global empire in the world. So it has a lot of culture. The vast majority of the population speaks English, which is great. So you have great schools which have very strong English capability, and that's very influenced by the British education system. Actually, I didn't know this, but I just found out that Portugal is ranked probably the first. It's the non-English speaking nation that most people speak English. It's more affordable than most of the destinations, and people are very warm. So, this is an interesting question, why Portugal created the Golden Visa, and it's very similar to other countries. Well, basically this attracts investment into the country. Portugal has ranked 3rd place in terms of investment raised for the Golden Visa, even when compared to other popular, programs, in the world. So the 2nd place is Canada and the 1st is the US. And this is an incredible achievement because this program has existed since 2012. If we think about the US program was created in the 1990s. It's an investment-based visa which allows the country to obtain obviously foreign capital and also expand and invest in their local economy. There are a couple of options. So the most popular I mentioned is the real estate options, but there's options where people make like donations like to the government too. So these investments, they trickle down not only to real estate but also to other areas of the economy. The most popular one, as I said, is is for the investor to purchase property, and that's going to be part of the presentation that MeWorld is going to make to all of you. The process is very simple and straightforward, and the LCR's role is to be a trusted advisor by providing program management support and simplifying the process. So, one of the first steps is to translate the documentation for people that aren't from Brazil or are not from Portuguese-speaking countries, so that you can present it to CEF. CEF is the immigration service in Portugal. The second is to select and invest in a qualifying property, and you can have a promissory contract and present that to your attorney so that it can be submitted. It doesn't have to be the final version yet. So that's positive, because sometimes it takes a while to close and get all the paperwork, but already with the promissory contract, you can get the paperwork going. The third step is to file the application and complete the CEF interview. An attorney can help to either schedule and potentially schedule a trip to Portugal, when things ease down, so that you can do this live interview. The fourth and last step is to receive the visa, and you get a 1-year residency certificate that you will renew, and then you'll get a 2-year residency. And always, while you renew, you'll be able to live and travel freely both in Portugal and Europe. These are just estimated fees. They've been recently updated, but they're very similar to what we have here. So it's just a rough overview of what you can expect to pay in terms of fees. I would caution that attorney fees vary, but usually we have seen them range from 5,000 to 6,000 euros, and then there's an extra fee per applicant or dependent of this the same household or family. But these the fees, and any questions like related to fees, I think the best way of handling them is to either contact us so we can introduce an attorney to talk to talk about them, or talk to an attorney of your choice. Well, I'm going to hand it over to Carl, my colleague, and he's going to go over a few of these real estate trends and also, transition the presentation to NIWO. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Carlos. When we started looking at getting involved in the Portuguese Golden Visa, we did quite a bit of analysis on the Portuguese property market, and certainly came away very encouraged. Portugal has not historically been prone to any of the sort of wild real estate speculation that we saw in Europe and the US, certainly pre the financial crisis. And, certainly at the moment, property in Portugal is certainly cheap by almost any metric relative to Europe, and certainly relative to the US. Another feature really is that there's a shortage of rental stock in Portugal, and certainly in cities like Lisbon. The owner occupancy rate in Portugal is one of the highest in Europe, and the rental stock is consequently relatively low. That's partly for historic reasons. They've had fairly stringent rental control laws in the country, but that has subsequently been relaxed. But the consequence of that is that you can get high rental income in cities like Lisbon, where you can get rental yields of anywhere between sort of 4 to 6%, which is certainly very attractive. As I'm sure most of you are aware, interest rates are at historic lows. The ECB has kept lowering the lending rates. So you can get a mortgage now in Portugal, a long-term mortgage for around 1%, which is crazy. It's almost free money. Another thing to be aware of is that Portugal has enshrined its property rights, very stringent constitutional protections that have been there for a very long time, since the 70s. And as far as the coronavirus is concerned, Portugal seems to have got top marks in the way it's handled this. They've been, very proactive in terms of putting restrictions in place, and are already starting to ease up on that. And it seems as though Portugal could, in fact, come out of this in a positive way. We've highlighted here a couple of media articles and research on the real estate market, and just to name a few of those, Forbes magazine last month pointed out that Portugal is, in fact, the top destination for retiring to post the coronavirus. Knight Frank report, also very credible real estate report, puts Lisbon as one of the top 4 cities in the globe that are expected to see price appreciation for the rest of this year. And that was done this month, in fact. And the other cities are Shanghai, Monaco, and Vienna, I believe. And in fact, they put Lisbon as the top market for 2021. And then the very authoritative PwC Emerging Trends in Real Estate report put Lisbon as a top 10 market in 2020. They actually had Lisbon as the top market for 2019. So there's certainly a lot of evidence to point to the fact that the real estate market will continue to remain strong in Portugal, and in Lisbon in particular. With that, I'd like to hand over to Malcolm, Malcolm Lobben, one of the partners at New World, I had the great pleasure of meeting Malcolm and his co-founder, John Ravi, in South Africa in March, just before everything closed down. And I think most South Africans are very well aware of John Ravi's excellent reputation as a developer. And but it was just great to see firsthand some of the tremendous developments they've done in that country. And it's been a great pleasure to partner with them. And we look forward to a long relationship. So with that, I'd like to hand over to you, Malcolm.
Thank you very much, Carl, and thank you also to Joe and Carlos for the positive remarks about us. And we certainly are equally delighted to be working with you folks and privileged. I think it's a great partnership that we believe we're going to build over the next number of months and years. We're proud to present to LCR clients our project, which is LX Living. You'll see the logo in the bottom right of the pic, the rendering. It's a project which we're going to talk a bit about now, and we include a site tour with Bradley, my partner, Bradley Parker, in a moment. I think we have a video to kickstart the discussion.
LX Living is a brand new mixed-use development in Amoreiras, a sought-after residential neighbourhood in central Lisbon. This prime location is just a short stroll from the prestigious Avenida de Liberdade, part of the city's spacious area. The striking contemporary building, designed by one of Europe's leading architects, features dramatic cantilevered balconies and consists of 151 luxury apartments, ground floor retail, a landscaped internal plaza, 2 swimming pools, a gym, a day spa, and 2 restaurants. The building has been masterfully designed to integrate into the existing urban fabric, providing pedestrian access through several entrances into a publicly accessible landscape plaza, which will provide access to the ground floor shops and restaurants. The 151 apartments of LX Living are arranged in 2 separate buildings linked by a landscaped internal plaza and are serviced by 5 separate lift shafts. The mix of apartment types has been carefully compiled to meet the needs of the market. All apartments will feature spacious contemporary living areas, open-plan kitchens, and luxury finishes. All residents, owners, and tenants alike will have full use of a suite of amenities and services usually found in luxury hotels. Ample underground parking, 2 restaurants, a bar, and garden, various lounges, pause areas, and eating spaces, and high-speed fiber connectivity throughout the building. This project is being co-developed by GMG Real Estate and New World, the international real estate development company owned by John Ravi. The sales suite has been erected on the site, and demolition works began in October 2019. We fully expect to be sold out on this project well in advance of completion.
Thanks, Carl. Apologies, I think there was a bit of a bandwidth problem which we thought might happen, but I'm sure you'll agree it's worth just getting a picture of our project, which we're going to go live to in a moment. So just to give you, most importantly, we have partners in this development, most importantly GMG Real Estate, who invited us in some 18 months ago, that being New World. GMG Real Estate, Geneva-based, highly accomplished developer, with an exceptional track record. They've been around since 2005. They've done about €1 billion worth of development since then on roughly 27 different projects. I think what's extraordinary is they've closed out on about 400 million of those projects with a weighted average IRR of around 25%. So I think their pedigree and the metrics speak volume about their capability. Allied to that have been their historic strategic partner, financial partner, if nothing more, certainly more than that, but most importantly, financial partner in Skybound Capital. Skybound Capital has offices in Hong Kong, London, Australia, and South Africa. They look after, I believe, of the order of $1 billion worth of high net worth investment. And we slotted in, as I said, just 18 months ago as New World, and we brought with us the Rabi factor, which Carl mentioned. Johnny, of course, is well known to us back home, but globally, I mean, he's done of the order of 30 to 40 years of highly skilled experience in the industry, most recently in mixed use developments in the inner city of Cape Town, which is entirely relevant to what we're doing with Newman Leach and the GMG team in Lisbon. So we just give you a picture of the location of our site on the next slide, which Carl's going to call up. There we go. You'll see down at the far end, you'll see the River Tagus with an aeroplane flying. That's something we don't see very often these days. And some high-rise activity around us. It's definitely the sort of upper market downtown part of Lisbon, the newer area. The old city is to the right of the photograph, but we extremely well located right in amongst blue chip offices, 2 5-star hotels, etc. And that, of course, is the most critical issue in the location question relative to development. What makes it quite unique in the Lisbon context is that we are in a greenfields development, which is unusual. Most developments in Lisbon are in the form of brownfields development with sort of 10 to 20, maybe 30 units and maintaining the heritage look and feel of the building. So there are just a few bullet points at the bottom, which I don't need to go over, but we have also a very a landmark in the Amoreiras shopping center, which is very close to our development. The International French School, probably a 500-meter walk. We're getting back to Carl's point about rental accommodation. We believe families are going to be seeking apartments when they become available 2 years from now. This is the very, very exciting development which has been formalized literally in the last couple of weeks. We knew about it some time back. It's the City Hall's plan to expand the metro. If you look at the red line, at the moment it terminates at the intersection with the blue line at a station called San Sebastián. It's going to be extended to the right, and first stop is in fact right outside our property. The metro station will be right at the entrance of our property, and then continuing for another 4 or 5 stations to the right. You will see then from Amoreiras, we'll connect all the way to the left to the airport and into the 3 lines running in a vertical way up and down the city. This project will commence in 2021. It's a 400 million euro project, planned execution over 3 years. So we think this is going to be a very value-enhancing add-on to the existing Alex Living project. The video did give you an idea of the scope of the project. It's large in the context of Lisbon. It's going to be, we believe, an iconic development given its location and all these facts. The mixed use component being a key part of that, 1,341 square meters of retail, which is something we're very familiar with. It's the new way of doing things. And we believe it's particularly now with the metro station, that's going to become a big attraction. Every apartment, most importantly, does include a parking bay. Parking is at a premium in Lisbon, like most first world cities, and our investors will all have at least one parking bay, together with access to the gym, the swimming pools, and the rooftop garden. The departure point on this project has always been about the investment. The Golden Visa, of course, is a big attraction, but our clients are all looking to know that they're putting their money in an asset which is going to give them the right returns, both from a yield perspective and a capital growth perspective. All buyers under 650,000 euros enjoy a 4% guaranteed return for the first 24 months from us as the developer. The interest rate environment in Portugal is extremely attractive. In discussion with our mortgage broker only yesterday, we learned that she's able right now to access fixed rate funding at 1% and floating rates at the moment at 85 bips, 0.85%. The terms are interesting, up to 30 years for people who 30 years from now are 75 years or less. So anybody who's 45 years old or less is able to access 30-year money at these very attractive rates. Loan to values for foreigners up to 75%, which is exceptional. Leverage, pre-tax leverage yields then getting close to double figures now on the premise of a 1% interest rate. And on top of that, working with LCR and their client base, we're able to obviously, on the back of a 500,000 euro investment, able to access the Golden Visa. Just important point to make, the Golden Visa requires fresh capital of 500,000 to be invested by the applicant. So notwithstanding the access to end user finance, you would need to make, to qualify, you would need to be able to show unequivocally that you've invested 500,000 of your money. Many of our Golden Visa clients on the back of this are looking to buy more than one apartment so that they can access the cheap finance. Our last bullet point is very important. We've seen fit to put together all the right service providers. Carlos mentioned attorneys. We certainly also can recommend attorneys. We have access to all the financial services, the tax services, the admin services. So our aim is to always hold our investors' hand and take them into, on a seamless basis, bring them into investing in this lovely city. Four benefits, the tangible or the financial we've spoken about, but equally importantly, the less tangible, what everybody calls Plan B, which is particularly for those folks who perhaps are looking for some sort of insurance policy, the access to the world-class educational facilities, particularly tertiary education. Carlos has mentioned the English speaking component being a key factor, world-class healthcare facilities, and then of course that gateway to Europe, which is benefit number 4. We're well on the way, and Brad's going to talk us through. We're pleased to share with you that we've had 110 buyers so far, notwithstanding the fact that our contractor only moved on site, in fact, this week. So we've had off-plan sales of close to 70% of the units. Demolition done. The PH approval is effectively the final sectional title scheme being registered and approved. That's an important milestone which allows our Golden Visa clients to formally embark on the Golden Visa application process. That's just around the corner, August, September. And our construction life cycle is looking at 26 months. So we'll be delivering completed product to our clients in the second half of 2022. Very important just to mention, and we'll pick it up talking to you folks in the near future, but we do right now have 12 one-bedroom apartments left in stock available in the 500,000 euro range, which are ideally suited for LCR clients. I might add again, though, there may be sense in leveraging that by acquiring more than one unit and accessing the very cheap finance. So what I'd like now to introduce Brad. Bradley is waiting for us on site, looking very relaxed in a pair of sunglasses. There he is. So over to you, Brad.
Good afternoon, everyone. I do have a mask in my pocket, but it's not very favorable talking. So I am no one near me. So I think I am socially distancing. So I moved to Lisbon with my wife about 15 months ago. So I've been living here on the ground. I must just say, the health system I can vouch for, as my son was born here in December, so it's a very good system. Also, from a cost of living point of view, compared to South Africa, where I come from, very, very close in comparison. And if you compare it to the rest of Europe, most certainly, probably most affordable place to live in Europe. Enough of me. What I'm going to do is give you a little bit of a tour. So I'm going to flip my screen around and show you exactly where we are. This one. All right. So you can see I'm standing across the road from our site, and you'll see a marketing board, Elshish Living, and just to the left, there's a marketing suite which we've built, which I'll touch on a little bit later. But as I get to the corner here of the site, you'll see a road running all the way down here, and you'll see an old wall that runs all the way down to the bottom. Now that wall is actually our boundary, and so our site is everything to the left of that. And if you see in the far distance, you've got the Amareyrish Towers, and that's exactly what we touched on earlier. That is where the Amareyrish Shopping Center is, literally 3 minutes walk from where I'm standing right now. Then I'm going to pan back around just to give you a bit of context of where we are. You'll see a row of trees. I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but there's a graffitied wall all the way along there. That's an earmarked site by Nova Banco, which is one of the bigger banks in Portugal. And that's also going to be developed over time. They're looking at those plans as we speak. And then where I'm pointing right now, Avenida Liberdade, where we actually have offices, is literally 900 meters from where I'm standing right now. So it's in walking distance. And then a little bit further, I'm going to walk across the road. You go down this road, you can either go left towards the airport, which takes you about 15 minutes, or right, and you jump onto the highway within 3 minutes, and you're about 20 minutes away from Cascais, or you can go left and go to the Algarve, which is about 2.5 hours away in the car. Then you'll see a big, large building in front of me, which is not us. We only handed over the site, as Malcolm said, recently. That is another development called the A Tower. And funny enough, we have the same architect, and now we also have the same builder, which is Alves Ribeira, which is going to be building our contract and theirs. They started about 9 months ago. So we really like that aspect because it brings synergy. It makes the precinct look like one. And obviously with a contractor right next door, it really does help us knowing and understanding what's coming. Then just to zone in a little bit again, there's our marketing board, our marketing suite, which we put on site for our sales team. For us, it's very important to be hands-on and to allow people to come and see us. Hasn't helped us in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks with Corona, obviously, but we believe that's shortly going to come to an end as Portugal has approached it in a very pragmatic way so far. Just walking down into the marketing suite. So what we've done in the marketing suite is you'll see there's a built-in kitchen, which is just gives our clients a look and feel approach. It's important to note just on the finishes for everyone, all appliances are all included and integrated into the kitchens, and all apartments come with that. Then we've also done a mock-up bathroom, which just gives you a bit of a look and feel of what you get as a client. Then one step further, we've got a VR system where clients can come and put a headset on, and actually we have modeled a couple of apartments, and we've actually got the live footage, which we took with a drone to see exactly what views you will get from your apartment. So really get a look and feel. And we are also looking at augmenting this so that we can put it online for anyone around the world so they can see it. Added to that, AC, that is not what you get, so don't be alarmed. You'll have a ducted aircon system, but I'm in a container of 4, and so we couldn't do that in this setup. The timber flooring is also throughout, and also where you have a terrace, you will have timber decking. Now I'm going to walk through. This is just a little bit of a sales office. You see we've already got the hard hats for our visitors to come and see us. Walking out through the secret door. What we did is we built a platform, a viewing platform. So any international visitors or local can come and see us on site. So just to touch on again where I am, you'll see that's the site that I was mentioning earlier from Nova Banco. Zooming all the way around. Avenida in that direction. A Tower, the large building that we were mentioning, which is the other developer. And just important to note, they are selling at around 9,000 to 10,000 a square meter, and we believe we are very compatible in our prices because we are well below that. Then, most importantly, our site. You'll see in the distance again the Amaraish Towers. So just to explain how the site works, there are 5 blocks. Starting right in the far corner, the blocks work all the way E back to B, where I'm standing right here. The entrance to the parking, which Malcolm alluded to earlier, every single apartment gets a parking bay. You enter the parking right over here. Just to touch on the wall again, I think it's important to note that wall gets demolished, obviously. We then extend the road so that it becomes wider, and we have public street parking and a much wider pedestrian pavement, which is cobbled, which is typical in Lisbon. Lisbon is a very pedestrianized and cycle-friendly city. And so we believe this helps and adds to the area. And we're not just plonking a brand new building in this. It really feel like it's going to tie into what we've done. It also gives you privacy from the other buildings, and it separates us from that. Then if I zoom back, you'll see some containers on site. The builders are setting up as we speak. To the left of those containers is where the internal courtyard that the video mentions. That's where we'll have restaurants and retail that spills out into that area. And you'll have various entrances from various sides of the development. Then just to pan a little bit further around, I can't go around the building obviously, but A block wraps around that. It's a three-story block. And in that is where the indoor pool and the spa will be located. And then I'll just pan back around and just give you a last little look. And that's where we are. Thank you very much. And I'll hand back over to Carl.
Thanks, Brad. Joe, I don't know if you want to just close up here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Malcolm and Bradley, thanks so much. I just want to emphasize one of the things that we're fundamental people here at LCR, and one of the fundamental tenets of real estate is location, location, location. And we really like, not only New World for, the counterparty and what wonderful folks they have and what a great track record they have, but, this really is a special setting, being so close to not only local shops, but the main district of Lisbon, but also, the area itself, specifically with the subway station that's about to be built. It puts a fundamental underpinning to the value of the apartments, at least we think. That's based not only on our opinion, but historic precedent where, location next to transportation has always been at a premium, or at a minimum has held value. So with that, I just thought I'd wrap up a little about LCR and why we're here. We're a global immigration firm. Again, as I said earlier, we specialize in U.S. immigration, and now are expanding to Portugal. Some of our past clients, was an indication of the counterparties that we deal with. We've dealt with or raised money for the surf club Four Seasons in Miami, which is one of the most successful ultra high-end hotel and condo developments in Miami. We also partnered up with the Hall Group in Dallas. The Hall Group is one of the leading commercial developers, and Craig Hall himself is a former owner of the Dallas Cowboys, which again, just proves that we have institutional experience with the top players, and currently we're working on an EB5 deal with the NFL Hall of Fame. So the value that LCR brings is not only our familiarity with the market. We have Portuguese speaking and English speaking folks. It just it was very convenient that we also have South Africans on staff, which I think is a good connection to developer and many of our prospective clients. We specialize again in finance. I have a deep background in structuring derivative transactions for major European banks. So we think of ourselves as very sophisticated and not just pure marketers, but people that seek out real value for all of our clients. And finally, I'm not going to read the slides, but I just want to repeat what we said earlier regarding the white glove treatment. And that holds true for both New World and LCR. One of the things that we like to pride ourselves on is the personal relationship that we have with each individual client, not only hand-holding them through the application process, but establishing, a long-term relationship, because we realize that this is a life decision for, all of the folks that, make either a golden visa investment or a EB-5 investment in the US. So we take, very high care in regards to our relationship with our clients, and that carries through. We hope to think it carries through with the application process, but extends on. So that's it regarding LCR. And Carl, I think that we're going to open it up for questions now, and then all of us that have been presenting, I think, will be available for questions, but we have some ready right now. So Carl, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah, and Carl, just before you jump onto the questions, I just wanted to finalize saying that, you simply can't beat Portugal's, proposition. We looked at other programs, and, Portugal Golden Visa is the one program that has nearly all of the advantages of the best programs in the world and hardly any of the disadvantages of the, worst programs here in the world. It's a small capital outlay with potential for, appreciation, a path to EU citizenship in 5 years, very low residency requirement, when it comes to presence, flexible age restrictions for dependents, and easy language requirements. So that's a question that we get a lot, but after 5 years, you pass a very basic, Portuguese test if you decide to apply for Portuguese residency, citizenship. In terms of taxes too, they give you a 10-year exemption for certain taxes. I would check, with an attorney, but it is very favorable, compared to, a lot of the other programs. We think it's a top destination. There's been significant real estate, appreciation over the years, and there's also some, appreciation that the market believes that's still going to happen, during this year, which is incredible. So I'll hand it over back to you, Carl, so you can start the questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. You actually answered one or two of the questions there in that explanation. Maybe one question for you, Malcolm, just in terms of your buyers, where have they come from? And you mentioned 70% of the units sold. Where are those buyers come from?
Yeah, Carl, thank you. We initially, a lot came from South Africa. Many of them are folks that have been supporting Johnny Rabi for many years. And we launched this time last year in Cape Town and Johannesburg. And we got a wonderful response. Subsequent to that, we have, as per our plan, we've engaged the global market. We've had a lot of buyers coming from the Middle East, from the UK, from France, and more now from Europe. So it's been quite a good spread. And we're looking forward to engaging with other markets, most importantly, China, Brazil, traditional markets for Lisbon.
Excellent, thanks. Just another question regarding the proposed changes to the Golden Visa program. There's been a lot of talk about that. I don't know if you want to address that, Malcolm.
Yeah, it's a good question. There was some talk a little while ago, early in the year, about the real possibility of a change, perhaps in 2021, where the authorities are looking to divert foreign investment away from not only just Lisbon and Porto, but into other parts of the country. What we're hearing on the ground is the likelihood of that happening is very slim. In fact, if at all, it might happen the year after next. So we don't foresee any change to the Golden Visa program, certainly not during the life cycle of this project. And a lot of our clients are, in fact, invested with us and will be investing with us, looking to access the Golden Visa through an investment at LX Living.
Here's another Golden Visa related question. Can the investment for the Golden Visa be done in the name of a trust or a company, or must it be done in a personal name?
Good question. So the Golden Visa applicant, obviously it is a personal name. You need to have decided who it is, whether it's going to be you as the parent or the dependent. But fundamentally, the application for a Golden Visa can only be relative to an individual who then has to provide the authorities with the requisite documentation, including a police clearance, an unabridged birth certificate, a tax clearance in certain cases. So most certainly it is driven, the actual property, if you're not going for the Golden Visa, could quite happily be bought in the name of a company. But if the Golden Visa is your end game, it has to be in the name of an individual.
Okay. I think you've pretty much answered this, but just another question on the gearing and enhancing your yields to, close to double digits. I don't know if you want to just reiterate that or just touch on that again, Malcolm.
Certainly. Carl, yeah, we've met with the banks. In fact, when we were last in Portugal, when I was last in Portugal towards the end of last year, we met with 4 or 5 of the banks who all gave us the same message, that they would consider 75% loan to value. So if you're buying a unit for €1 million, they would look to provide you with 750,000 euros of end user finance. But if we stay with, the fact is that you can borrow that money on very attractive terms, low interest rates and long terms of up to 30 years. So if you take your normal yield, and I like your slide earlier, Carl, that you spoke to about the state of the market and the shortage of rental stock, if you're earning a gross 4 or 5% rental on your apartment, and you then factor in the gearing benefit, you very quickly ratchet that up based on simple arithmetic. Clearly, if you buy a unit for €1 million, you're earning, let's call it 40,000 euros of income, and you're only having to put down 250,000 to generate that 40,000. You obviously have to knock off the cost of interest, the rates and taxes and the levies. You're going to end up with a return on your 250,000, which is going to get close to those double digits, particularly in the new interest rate environment.
I just want to point out too that and you mentioned this earlier, Malcolm, that the Golden Visa, per requirements for the program, it has to be a 50 or 500,000 euro investment, but that doesn't obviously preclude, the theoretical of buying $1 million apartment with 500,000 investment cash plus 500,000 mortgage gearing.
Thank you, Joe. 100%.
Carlos, I think a question for you. For the first 5 years, there's a temporary residence visa. Assume I've spent the required weeks in Portugal. In year 6, do I become the holder of permanent residence with no more renewals required?
Yeah, so the answer to that question is yes. So once you reach the 5-year mark, you can both renew the residency, and then it becomes, what could be called like a full residency without, these renewals. Plus, you can also apply for the citizenship if you desire to do so.
Okay. I think we've addressed all the questions. Unless anybody's got a last minute request, I think that's us. That's a wrap. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and please feel free to reach out to us if you have any more questions or you'd like to set up a consultation. Be happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you, everybody.